Hello, good morning to all. Thank you all for joining. So the next panel will be on understanding innovation and technology value chains for SMEs. Maybe we can make a very brief catch-up of what the Atlantic KEt MEd project is. So the objective of the project is to bring key enabling technologies together for the next generation of medical technologies. So the overall aim of the Atlantic KEt MEd project is to create a transnational advanced pilot manufacturing system on future biomedical projects. So this is quite a challenge. And I think that within the Atlantic KEt MEd project, we have been able to set the grounds for this transnational value chain on biomedical products to be created. The Atlantic KEt MEd project started in 2017. It's finishing now during the month of October, and it has 7 partners from the Atlantic program participating countries. So we have 7 partners from Ireland, England, Spain, France, and Portugal. And the project is coordinated by the National University of Ireland in Galway. So now I will pass the word to Diane. Diane is the Executive Director of Bionow, one of the partners of the Atlantic KEt MEd project. And she has a PhD in the field of experimental nuclear structure physics. Diane will be speaking about innovation audits that were developed during the 4-year project of the Atlantic KEt MEd. So Diane will speak about the major hurdles and the major insights and conclusions that we got from the innovation audits. So Diane, I pass the word to you.
Thank you, Paula. Can you see my screen? I've just clicked it through.
We're starting to see it. Okay, we see it.
Okay, lovely. I'll just go to slideshow. Right, there we are. So you can all see that full screen.
Yes,
okay.
all clear, Diane.
Wonderful. Well, first of all, there's the map of our area. You know, the Atlantic area made up of basically 5 countries there. So we've got Wales, the UK, Ireland, France, Portugal, and Spain, and we came together, you know, as Paula said, back in 2017, to look in depth at the companies within these areas and how KETs could be applied to medical technologies. And one of the key things we did at the very start, and certainly in the first couple of years, was do some innovation audits with companies that we selected. So first of all, how would we identify the target companies across such a wide area? So the first job we did was to identify a long list of companies. So each partner looked at their own region, listed out companies who worked in medical technologies and their applications. And this netted a full list of over 300 companies across the Atlantic area. From these, we selected 50 for the innovation audit based on 10 per country. And 25 of these were then destined to go on to the full value chain analysis. So the project target was 50 innovation audits with SMEs. We actually achieved more than that. We did 60 with 60 SMEs for various reasons. But that's given us quite a rich data set in terms of what I'm going to talk about here. Right, so we've got to start off with 330 companies. How are you going to, you know, squish it down to just 50 to work with? So we drafted some selection criteria, which would enable us to choose the companies that we work with. So basically, you know, we knew the project was going to go on for over 3 years. It was important that the company would have a strong senior team in place so that we would get the senior level buy-in at the outset to commit resource to the project, and importantly to engage with the project. It is a project that requires very, very deep company engagement. Clearly, the company would have to have a track record in innovation or a strong potential so that it could benefit from our highly technical ecosystem that the project has built. It would need sufficient funding and stability to participate for at least 3 years. There's no point, being here 1 year and not the next in terms of what we're trying to achieve. And innovation should be addressing a clear unmet need. It should have a high degree of fit with the capability of the technology partners so that they can assist. We were keen to get an overall balance of the group of target companies to really spread the deployment of the KETs fairly evenly, across the target audience. And we were also keen to see that technology readiness progression would be possible in terms of the interventions we would be able to deliver. So coming on to the innovation audit itself, this is action 1 within work package 4, which is our stakeholder engagement activity, and it comprised the initial engagement with the 50 target SMEs. Now, the innovation audit itself, there's a reference there at the bottom of the screen, is a structured questionnaire which examines the company's internal approach to innovation, its processes, its management review, its skills, etc. And 7 aspects are assessed by means of 47 questions. And the questions are asked in the form of a discussion. And then we can score each area. So there are the 7 areas, and basically ideas, design, competency or skills, competitive technology, intelligence, project management, knowledge management, and finally we do touch on value chain analysis in quite a limited way in the innovation audit stage. So the innovation audit, the context in brief really is, I don't know if I'll go through all this in detail, but it's a little bit like an ISO 9000 audit, but without looking for the evidence. So we ask those sorts of questions. Is there a formalized system to say gather, reward, track and evaluate new ideas? Are there regular project meetings to guide new product development? Are the staff offered technology training? Do they use cross-functional teams? Is competitive technology pursued in a structured manner, or is it just ad hoc? Are projects effectively documented? Is knowledge and know-how formally stored and managed? Is IP, properly created and maintained? And does the company have a clear value chain perspective on its products and services? In other words, are stakeholders identified? Is TRL understood? And crucially, where TRL needs to be in order to meet market demands, both now and in the future. So the answers are self-reported. It's done by means of a discussion, but it wasn't evidenced. We didn't ask to see minutes of meetings. We didn't look at the standard to which they were doing things. It was very much more introducing the project, explaining that these companies had been selected because they met certain criteria, and really having a discussion with senior management about how they are managing these various aspects of innovation. So in that sense, I feel the answers were, were fairly representative of the truth. We had no reason to doubt that. Right, there's the 47 questions within the innovation audit. So it's obviously it's asked in the conversation. This is all within a spreadsheet, and then each answer can be scored. If it's a yes, then get a 1. Partial would get a 0.5, and if there was just not doing that, then they score 0. And basically all those scores are added up, and we get this as an output. So as I said, the innovation audit is conducted in a face-to-face meeting with the SME. We were fortunate we managed to do just about all of these before the pandemic. And the first output there is a self-assessment of the relevance of the 7 areas of the business with the SME scoring these on a scale of 0 to 1. So the very first questions we ask are just in general terms, looking at those definitions of those areas, how important are these to your business? We then go through the 47 questions and look in detail at how we think they're really performing against these criteria. So there you can see the blue data is really what's come out of the innovation scoring method. And this can then be compared to the self-assessment. And one of the things that we started to see a lot of is it's very common for SMEs to overestimate their competence in managing innovation. They will all say it's important, but some are better than others in terms of how they manage it. And that, you know, that is going to be a differentiator ultimately in how well they're going to compete and get their products to market. So that's the radar diagram that summarizes the output. And we also provide a detailed innovation audit report, which offers some insights that we've seen in the data. And bear in mind, when we're doing these discussions, we're talking to several companies, so we do build up a feeling for, you know, the general space. So we try to draw out their strengths from the data, the challenges, the things that they need to address, you know, the things that could be done better, and provide some thoughts as to, you know, particular actions that they could take in these areas. We also make some recommendations. Usually just, you know, 2 or 3 to go along with the advice and the challenges. And then we also give an overall score. So if they're in this model, if they're scoring in an overall manner above 0.61, then they're in the proactive group. If they're between 0.41 and 0.61, they're what's deemed pre-active. And in the data that we looked at, about 2/3 of our companies were proactive, and about 1/3 were falling into the pre-active category. We found these innovation reports were well received. You know, it flowed on nicely from the conversation. We got all the feedback and you know, some ideas for action. And as I said, this is the first step in our engagement with the company. So we felt it was important that they had a deliverable in the form of this report, even if we then chose not to further work with them in detail on the next stage, which is value chain analysis. So looking at the aggregated findings, most SMEs, as I said, overestimate how well they are managing innovation. Now, this is an anonymized summary of the data across 58 companies. I've got a couple I didn't quite have all the figures ready for. And you can see that they're ranging from over 0.9, you know, down to about 0.5. And the current score is the blue data, and their initial self-assessment is in orange. Now, in some cases, this wasn't quite filled in, so there's some gaps there. But you can see that, you know, generally, you know, once you get beyond the first quarter of that graph, they are tending to overestimate how well they're doing. Obviously, the worse they actually are, the more they're overestimating, which I suppose is expected, but it is quite striking when you see it in a graph like this. Now this plot, again, looking at the overall innovation findings and also digging down into the 7 areas. I plotted an average score and plus or minus 1 standard deviation for each aspect of innovation management which was assessed. You can see, looking at that data, ideas and creativity and knowledge management have significantly lower scores than the other measures, and also a wider dispersion than the others as well, slightly. And this is concerning in medical technologies, as the route to market is expensive and it takes 7 to 10 years. And we all know a lot can happen in that time scale in terms of technologies developing, companies, you know, popping up, changes in technologies that are available and changes in market demand as well. So it is concerning, around ideas and knowledge management being the weakest areas in innovation, given the technology that they're working in. So some potential solutions occurred to me, having gone through the whole project and looked at what value chain can do. So we know that progressing to a full value chain analysis will enhance technical and market understanding of the product and its applications. Ideally, value chain would not be a one-off exercise, but could be a structured form of horizon scanning that companies with some support could undertake. It's very clear from looking at all the value chain data that it would vitalize the management of ideas and knowledge and provide a framework for targeted innovation. So it would directly address the weaker areas in innovation management that we've already identified. In addition, the system model can provide additional deep insights and identify potential IP. And I mean, Ian will speak about this later. But again, it's focusing on that knowledge management, the management of formal, intellectual property. So VCA and the additional application of the system model could actually increase the traction for effective innovation management. I think one of the challenges in managing a technical SME is got so many things to manage. They've got to worry about funding. They're small businesses, maybe only have one product that they're working on. And they think they've got the ideas because it's their baby at the end of the day. But if you can provide, some input in terms of ideas, what the market's doing, technical stuff, in a structured way, it will actually encourage management activity, management focus on the things that matter, like all these things on this graph, but particularly ideas and creativity and the knowledge management, which are absolutely crucial for, for being successful in competition. Now, the SMEs who participated in the study spanned, various technologies, everything, diagnostics, biomaterials, 3D printing, some pretty clever stuff on microfluidic lab on a chip and organoids. We had digital health solutions, drug delivery, lasers and photonics, smart materials and medical devices. And we found, I mean, I've analysed the innovation audit data from all the 58, 60 companies across these areas, and found that looking at the value chain, found that those measures and techniques that we've used can apply equally well to all of these sorts of businesses. So it is a holistic way forward to address innovation in medical technologies as a whole. Now, 26 SMEs progressed on to the full value chain analysis, and here they are. We were very happy to work with all these companies who are all based across the Atlantic area. And as I said, they span, all those technologies that I mentioned before. So that's really all I have to say on innovation audit. It's my contact details and also Ian. And you can read more about all of this at the Atlantic KEt MEd website there.
Thank you very much, Diane. It was really interesting to see that 2/3 of the audited company were proactive in relation to innovation. My question now is, what will be the future connection of these audited SMEs, namely the ones that were selected for the full value chain analysis? What would be the connection, or what will we try to do so these 26 SMEs can be embedded in a future pilot in biomedical products?
Yeah, I think maybe if Ian or Gerard would like to comment on that in terms of possible future projects.
Meaning, what kind of support will we provide to these companies post Atlantic KEt MEd? Apart from the data that we retrieved, right, from these innovation and audits, how will we get that data for further developments? How will we use the data for further developments?
Well, there's we've got the value chain report being prepared at the moment. It's almost ready. And in there, there will be some graphs and various data analyses of the stakeholders from the value chain analysis, which does, we haven't got that to present today because it's still in development. But that will provide a lot of insight in terms of where the stakeholders sit, and thinking in terms of Rosalind's talk, where the various strengths can be evidenced across the Atlantic region. I mean, we identified 1,560 stakeholders, many of whom were unique, and so that data is still being analysed. But it clearly, by working with the companies we've worked with, we've been able to map some space very effectively. As Bionow, we're a membership organisation, so we will continue to engage with the companies that we worked with because they're part of our network, and I expect other partners would wish to do that as well.
Okay, thank you very much, Diane.
Maybe I could just jump in there, Paula,
okay.
just to say, that I suppose the progression in the project was through innovation audit, through to the development of procedures and perhaps case studies. And while that's a funnel down to quite a small number of companies, the opportunity still remains for companies who did or did not get an innovation audit to engage, of course. And there are plenty of opportunities in the future. And so I just encourage them to reach out, and we'll certainly be reaching out to companies that we feel are aligned with our value chain to take it forward into the future. That's what I'd say.
Okay,
thanks.
Thank you. It was clear, Gerard. I don't know if there's any further comments. So if there would not be any further comments from the audience, I thank Diane once again